What's up, everybody? Hope you all are doing well. This is Pastor Derek McGee from Bible Based Church in Tallahassee, Florida. And this beautiful lady is my beloved wife, Lady Takia McGee. And tonight we have episode 2 of our show, Conversations with the Covenant Brothers. I am grateful for season 2, grateful to God for blessing us with the opportunity of casting a vision and seeing it come to pass. And so the great surprise that I have been teasing everybody with throughout the entire month and this week is tonight our show is being invaded by our wives.
Yay.
And so the wives will join us this evening. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. Anything you want to say to the audience?
It's going to be a great show. I already know. So
Awesome.
Make sure you tune in. Stay tuned in.
Absolutely. So again, I'm Derek McGee. This is my beautiful wife, Lady Takia McGee, Bible Based Church, Tallahassee. Information is on the screen. I'm going to bring in now my covenant brothers and each of their wives so they may introduce themselves. And so first and foremost, my brother, Bernard, what's going on, man?
Not much. Glad to be here tonight. Glad about this opportunity to be able to share not only amongst ourselves, but also with our wives. And so I have with me tonight my pretty preaching, praying partner, affectionately called Reverend Lisa.
Good evening, everybody. Looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Amazing. I'm excited by it as well. Next, we're going to bring in Pastor Roosevelt Rogers III. Ro, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man? How's it going tonight?
All is well, man. Who you got with you?
Good. I got my lovely wife, my girlfriend since 1995. We've been rocking over almost 30 years, man. And so I'll let her introduce the First Lady of the Old Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church.
Good evening, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here. It's about time y'all let us on. So this is going to be a great show because we are here.
So you already know what direction that's going, right there.
I already know starting out wrong, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Next, I'm bringing in my brother, Pastor Richard Ash the second, and his beautiful wife. Ash, what's up, bro?
Hey, how you doing? Good.
All well, brother. Who you got with you?
I got my lovely wife, Chantrell Ash. We've been married, 28 years? Be 29 this year. So we've been in the game for a little while. So I introduce her, let her talk.
Hey everybody, glad to be here. Ditto what sister right here said. Glad to be here by time. Bad with names.
I love it. And Ash, I'm proud of you, man. You got the answer right. How many years you been married? You had me nervous, brother. You looked at your wife like, is it right?
Don't worry. She'll hit me if you see me do like this here, that means she hit me. Oh, what's the sign for help? This is a sign for
He just blinked 3 times. And then lastly, we're gonna bring in my brother, Pastor Julius Harris from the New Jerusalem Missionary Baptist Church. What up, Jay?
Hey, everybody.
Who you got with you, man?
Man, this is my wife, man. 22 years. Listen, this is my best friend, man. I just thank God for it, man. We excited to be on and good to see y'all, and can't wait to get started with the conversation tonight.
I love it, man. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we are the Covenant Brothers. We are invaded by our wives tonight. I'm so excited about this conversation. So excited about what it's going to entail. Welcome to all of you on all of our various live platforms. Thank you for being a part of this vision. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ro. Frida, you got to say something.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
She definitely can't speak for herself.
Yeah.
I thought I got away. Hi, just excited to be on the call tonight. Looking forward to see what comes out of the conversation with the Covenant Brothers.
I love it.
Go ahead like that.
I love it. Well, listen, our show tonight is going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. Our topic tonight is weighty. Is it as easy as it looks? Right. And so many people have the misconception that from the outside looking in, that ministry is easy. They think that we make it easy. They don't realize the sacrifice we put in. But even more than that, they don't realize the sacrifice our families put in, mainly our wives, and then those of us who have children as well. And so we wanted to have a great conversation really about that. There are a few questions we're going to talk through. We're really going to have an open conversation, open dialogue, allow our wives to really chime in and have their voices heard. Each of us as Covenant Brothers have been in ministry for a period of time. And so we have advanced in ministry. God has been graciously kind to us. But along that journey, our wives have been there, and they've had to support us, encourage us, withstand some things as well. If the saints only knew the many times that we've had to bite our tongues in that regard. So we're going to have an honest conversation, also a fun conversation. And so I'm pretty excited about that. With that being said, we're going to jump right in with the very first question. So the first question is, what is the biggest misperception that people have of the pastor and the first lady and your family? And so I'm going to let you go first, Lady T.
I think the biggest misperception is that our lives are perfect. Like, we don't go through anything. Like, we're superhuman and we're superheroes. We just fly in and save the day. We don't get calls about life happening. We don't have to deal with our kids. Our marriage is always on 10. None of that is true.
And I'll add to that. I think there's also just the misconception that we just don't get tired, right? Like we don't need breaks, right? I love pastoring. I'm grateful to God for the opportunity to be able to pastor, but also I'm a husband, I'm a father. She's a wife, she's a mother. And so being able to check out and be checked in that is very, very important in that regard. Bernard and Lisa, let's go to you. What for that question on the screen, what do you think is the biggest misperception pertaining to the two of you? And just so everybody know, my sister Lisa is also a powerful preacher as well. And so I want you to add that into the conversation as well.
Yeah, I think probably, what I would say that the biggest misperception about ministry is the fact that, that we have all the answers. Sometimes,
that's good.
We're just as confused. We're just at a loss for words, just like everybody else. It's just that we have the call of God on our lives, but life be lifing for us too. I mean, we're gonna deal with things. We're gonna go through things just like everybody else. And I kind of echo what Takia said and what Derek said. It happens. We just have the call makes us have to press through that happening. And I'll let Lisa go on a little bit further.
And so I'm definitely in agreement with what both Derek, you and Takia said, as well as Bernard, because sometimes, truth be told, y'all, it gets hard still trying to maintain. And so when we're talking about, when life is lifing, it's still, we're still looking to the same God that we're directing you to
that's good.
Us and to give us what we need to press on, but still having to we don't get a chance to not show up. We don't get an opportunity to just step back and take a break. We're still, the expectation is that we still keep doing what God has called us in. I think the misconception is that we still need the strength of the same God that we telling y'all to look to. And so, especially in those moments, even like Takia was saying, where we're dealing with issues ourselves. Because if anybody out there thinks that your pastor ain't got issues,
talk to them.
To me, we do. We deal with the same issues. And even having to still stand and preach and pray while we're broken. Preach and pray while we're still trying to wrap our minds around this tragedy that just hit our family.
My God.
Still having to stand in the gap for you. I mean, and so we aren't superhumans. We still need the same God and still need to stand on the same business and the same gospel as everybody else.
Man, I love that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Ro and Ty, y'all jump in.
All right. What I'll say, man, one of the biggest misconceptions is, man, I think Takia alluded to it. I think you too, Derek, alluded to it, man. I guess times people don't think, man, we get on E sometimes. And sometimes we're ministering on fumes. And sometimes we're ministering from a place, like you said, of brokenness and hurt. And I think sometimes members think, because we always, and I used to have a bad habit, I'm good, I'm all right, that they don't even ask no more. And so I think we just got to learn how to be vulnerable without bleeding on our members, because a lot of them can't handle when we bleed, but still being open enough. So I think sometimes they just think because we don't show emotion, that we don't have emotions. And so I'll let Lady Rogers kind of take over from there.
And I just want to echo what he said. I think the one big misconception is because pastors tend not to show emotion and try to be there for everybody, that it's expected for them to always be strong. And that's not the case. We're human. We have flaws. We have pain. We have issues. We hurt right along with y'all. And I think Alicia said it when the saints are struggling or they just dealt with some type of pain and grief, we're dealing with it too. And we put some of our pain and hurt on the back burner to be able to help you through it. So that's a big misconception.
I love that. I love that. Ash, y'all jump in, man.
Well, I think one of the biggest misconceptions, I remember one of the elders that was with me before he left, he said even iron rusts. So
that's good.
So he said the same things that hurt you, it hurt me too. So, you know, sometimes people think that they could just say anything or do anything, and we just, you know, we automatically, because we preach the word and teach it, that it's always applied rightly when it comes to us. But sometimes you may catch us wrong. You see what I'm saying? And you know, I started ministry. I'm like my wife told. I started ministry a lot younger, so I'm better now. but before, you know what I'm saying, if you said something off to me, I'm gonna say something off back to you. So, you know, you have to deal with that part, and as well as you got to understand, like both of you have said, you can't bleed on the people. We expect it. Don't get me wrong. I don't care how much it hurt. We expected to hold it together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're expected to hold it together. And the thing is, and I think that's part of I think the transparency that we need to have is that we can't hold it together all the time. And our members need to know that we don't always have it together. And it is okay to say, you know what, I don't know. It is okay to say, you know what, I need y'all to pray for me this Sunday. You know, it is okay, because we don't have all the answers, and there's only one person that has all the answers. Amen. And we always got to go to him. So it is okay for us to you know, to not be perfect, because we're not perfect. You know what I mean? And we can't, I mean, much as we put this image, because it is an image, you know what I mean? We put this thing in front of the people, but we got to, you know, show transparency as well. And that, you know what, I'm going through just like you're going through. So I ain't got it. I ain't got to tell all of it. But
can handle all of it.
But sometimes we do need to say, you know what, saints, hey, pray for me. I need y'all prayer.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Tell your spouse.
Yeah.
I need your prayer.
Yeah.
And because the more thing is that we're in it together. And as couples, a lot of times, I think we're probably bleeding into some of the other stuff. Let me hush. Let me hush. I digress.
Hey, Dan, you invited them now. Remember that you did this.
That's what we want. We want people to know this how we are. Jay and Freddie, y'all chime in. What's the biggest misconception? Y'all didn't tell me I had the wrong word on the screen either. I'm gonna leave that alone. You over here ain't saying nothing to me. Anyway, go ahead, Jay.
No, man, that's great, man. This conversation is great. Man, I think that I understand it, and I believe that all of us would answer this question the same way, that people think our lives are perfect, and but I think I understand it, man. I just kind of wrote some notes on that. I think because most of us as pastors and preachers, man, we try to keep our lives private, and I know I do, and I think it's wise to do that. But I think in that, there are some people who just kind of want to know what's going on in your life personally, and that's just kind of the day we live in. But I think that because we keep things kind of private, we kind of, you know, because, you know, we're not celebrities, we're not public figures, but a lot of our people are privy to a lot of things in our lives. So some people think that they should just know everything. But man, we try to keep certain slices of our life to ourselves. I think that we got to control the narrative. I think that, you know, whatever slice of my life I give you, it should be what I give you.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that, but I also think I think what Ash and his wife were just saying, and I think transparency is important.
Yeah.
But we also have to be led by the Holy Spirit, and we can't share it all. But we do have to share something so that folks will know that we are human, just like they are, man. Because I think when they see us on Sunday, they think we're like that all the time. And so, man, we've had some not arguments, but we've had some heated fellowship.
Yes, sir.
Y'all don't know what that is. Y'all
Come
know
on
about
now.
heated fellowship on the way to church. I'm just going to break the ice. So we've had some heated fellowship on the way to church, baby. And I said, all right, we at the church. And I said, when you get out this car, all right, these people looking at us. But we try to just be authentic to who we are. But also, man, just try and make sure that we reveal what we feel that reveal. But go ahead, man. What you want to say?
I just kind of am going to echo what everybody said about the misconception is that we're perfect, we got it all together. I guess we live in heaven all week and come down on Sunday.
Oh, that's a good one.
That our children are perfect, and things don't happen in our lives. And so I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to the pastor and the first family, that we're human, we're not perfect. And the same grace that they want for their lives is the same grace that we need also.
I love that. This is not one of the pre-questions, but you said something, Frida, that I think is key to hit on, talking about our kids. And so the audience knows this, but Ash, for example, Ash is a PK, right? So Ash served under his dad and succeeded his dad. And his wife's been with him on that journey, right? And so Ash, just speak to, from the standpoint of being a pastor's kid and then pastoring with your own kids, and the misconception people had on you and your siblings as the pastor's kids, right? Because they expect you to be perfect. Like everybody else's kids get grace, but the pastor's kids, you ought to know better, right? Everybody else's kids get grace at school. You a preacher's child. You ought to be behaved differently. Things of that nature, right? And thank God that He has delivered you and your tongue from slicing folk, right? But it's still in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's still in there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speak to that, man.
I think I was fortunate too in another way, being a pastor's kid, that my dad practiced what he preached. And what I mean by that is, it wasn't like he was harder on me than he was on anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Because of him being in pastor, because he didn't want anyone to say that we were allowed to just get away with stuff. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
he maybe sometimes maybe sometimes he probably took it too far with us, but it was because of that perception, as well as some reality in some realms where the preacher's kids get to do whatever they want to do, but say like and as well as the membership sometimes are kind of a little leery to deal with us because of who your dad is. You see what I'm saying? Your dad, the pastor. I don't care how much you may try to make it seem like, but it's just like with anything else. They know who your dad is. So and I probably did some of the same things with my kids to that level where I wanted to make sure that as well as I wanted them to be able to be kids just like everyone else.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? They had to be, they had to have times where they messed up, and you know what I'm saying? Just like all of us went through life, and you had your ups and downs, and you had to deal with that. And one thing I think with me and my wife, with our kids, try to do also was the transparency was we never wanted to be portrayed as no perfect family. You know what I'm saying? Never wanted to make it like our kids didn't mess up or didn't get in trouble, but we wanted to make sure that whatever was dealt out for the other kids, our kids were included in it. So if I call your child out and say, hey, they need to be quiet or sit down, mine ain't gonna be able to be standing up and cutting the food down, because I'm just not gonna allow that to happen. Because if you're gonna lead, you gotta lead by example. You know what I'm saying? And as well as if my child can do whatever they want to do, then every other child in here gonna be able to do what they want to do too. Because we want to make sure, because it's easy for us as the first family, when people don't, especially if they have got to know you. You know, we'll probably get into this perception, and you know, we got all the wives in here. It's a perception with first ladies. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That they own that, but you ain't never one time went up there and spoke to her.
Yeah. Well, listen, Ash, here's the thing though, brother. They only think about that with Kojic wives. Us Baptists, the Baptist wives, we don't get all that. It's just y'all Kojic. but Chantrell, jump on that. You know, again, you was there back before he started pastoring, right? And so, you know, when you trying to raise your kids as kids of a pastor, also but at the same point, let them live life, right? Not be stuck to that image, because if we're not careful, our kids can start resenting church because the people. So just give your opinion on that as well.
Yeah, and it was one thing with our church family, especially back then. It was a lot of kids that they grew up with, and like Richard said, it wasn't no different. So everybody got it. So if one got it, all of them got it. So it wasn't no different from our kids, from the other kids. And so, yeah, I mean, we tried to make sure that even when it come down to just school activities, you know, whatever you wanted to participate in, that, you know, we tried to encourage whatever you wanted to do to a certain extent, you know what I mean? But because kids are kids. And then the thing is, because the main thing, you don't want them to resent coming to church, you know, because when you went, they had to go regardless. So if you went to Bible study, whatever, all the different services and the extra services, they had to come. And you did not want it to be where when they get into the 20s and they didn't like to go to church, or when they look back in their childhood and they resented, you know, talk nothing but bad things about church. But no, we just like Richard said, we pretty much try to adhere to the same rules applied to all kids at the church. So he pretty much treated everybody, and I did like you my baby too, you know. So come on, sit up here with me. You know, I had the girls sitting on the front row with me, you know, come on, you know. And so all of them was, you know, just like mine. And so I disciplined them. If I told mine to say, don't do this, the other one knew you couldn't do it either. So it wasn't no respect of person, even when it came down to the kids. So, and
one thing, like you said, and as well as, you know, growing up as a pastor's kid, and this is transparent for us. We never hear this. My son was born with us when we were boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah. I'm the pastor's son. Yeah. It wasn't something that was like, oh no, don't say nothing about it, or don't preach on it, or don't do anything about it. And we never heard my son, our son rather. Sorry, our son. Somebody counted these people, and I said, "Oh, I know Rick. He said his son." But our son. But see, that was that realness in it. You know what I'm saying? That okay, we didn't always do things perfect. So when we had other people that came in with kids or something, and you might bore. It took a load off some people that, you know what, man, we human just like you.
Yes, sir.
We ain't no different than we ain't always done it, and we know what was right and what was wrong. We didn't, and nor did nobody try to play like, oh, okay, we married now. It don't take nothing. I say this all the time. It don't take nothing to add my son age and then add how long we've been married. It ain't no rocket science behind this. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And nor are we ashamed of anything.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So as well as we were not going, and my wife can attest to this now, I don't let nobody mess with my folks, man. I don't let nobody.
Right, brother.
I don't let nobody.
Right.
I don't let nobody. I don't let nobody cross her. I don't let nobody. I don't play that now. That's a protective part of me. I don't play about that. So I'll straighten you quick if you think you bothering her.
Yeah. See, the old Richard coming out now, y'all. Let's pray for him. Put your hands to the screen. He done got riled up, Jesus. He had a flashback. Listen, before we move on, I wanna bring Bernard and Lisa back in, because I aforementioned about Lisa being a powerful preacher, right? But there is, even in 2024, there's still people who have opinions about women preachers, right? And so you're not the traditional first lady, right? Because you and Bernard, y'all partner in ministry, and Bernard is very intentional about including you in preaching. I know you preached a couple. It was this past Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, right? You preach, and so speak on that, because there are times where I know you having to bite your tongue, and Bernard, you having to defend, right? Because every church that invites you don't let your wife sit in the pulpit, right? But how do you balance that, right? Because again, that's a misconception, right? That she ought to know her role, right? Because people have that old school mindset. They don't see the oil. And so speak to that before we move on.
Yeah, I'll let her chime in as well. But I've had to take some stances on that, because I believe in the calling that's on her life to be able to, to stand and preach the gospel. And when we got together, she pastored 2 churches.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When we first got married, and we were going separate ways, and she was pastoring, and we decided, it was enough of that. And so when she decided to let those churches go, and we joined in, and I tell people now, when they get the 2 of us, they actually get a whole pastor, because the things that I'm not, she is. The things that she's not, I am. And and I say, if you want to cry, okay, you can go over there to her first, and she gonna pat you, and she gonna cry with you. And when you're ready to solve the problem, come on to me, and then we'll go ahead and take care of it. But I've actually had some opportunities to go and preach some places, and I knew how they felt about women preachers, and I had to decline, because I believe that the call and anointing that's on her life should be respected, just like mine. And as a matter of fact, someone asked her to have me to come and preach somewhere, and they didn't honor women preachers. And so I told her, I said, now you're asking me to do this, and I typically wouldn't do it. I said, so tell me what you want me to do. And she said, it's okay, you can go. And I'm gonna show you how God worked it out. We actually went to this place, I preached, and in the end, God led an altar call where I had her to come and prayer, and it tore the church up. But I wanted people to see the call that's on her life is just as authentic as the call that's on my life. And I believe that people have to respect that. We don't have a baptism pool at our church, so we were going to someone else's church to baptize. And I said, well, my wife helps me with the baptism. And the person said, well, you know how they feel about women preaching. I said, but that's all right. Don't worry about it. I said, we'll find somewhere else to go. So I've had to do that, to kind of take those hard stances so that people would know how I feel about the calling that's on her life.
Lisa, you jump in, please.
Yeah, and so let me say this first and foremost. I appreciate him willing to take a stand for the call that is on my life, because I also see a number of times in instances where females are not given that opportunity, regardless of the calling, and as well as the destination. And so it's been challenging, but we know that we're not going to change our stance on what we believe and where he goes. Even if those times in the past were that one instance that he took, I thank God that he was still able to use me in that regard to bless the people. But it took opportunities like that. And as a matter of fact, they've even asked me now to come back and do something else where they didn't even accept women previously. But it's the gift that makes room for you. And so I thank God for that. But it's challenging. It's challenging, but I'm still gonna be who I am. And we're gonna do it together. And no, we ain't splitting. So because I get those questions always. So if you used to pastor, why aren't you pastoring now? And it's because we are whole. Our gifts and anointing complement each other. Mm-hmm. And so it's really difficult. It was really difficult when I was pastoring 2 churches, and then him going all the way to Alabama a lot, and we would always be missing each other. And so that put a strain actually on our marriage when we first got married, because we rarely, saw each other because of just the things that we were trying to do in ministry. But we really do it well together, I would think, and we would have it no other way. And we just thank God for the opportunity and how he has married us together. And I know he told you I put that sneak up game on him, and he couldn't help but ask me to marry him. So knew what he was doing. He knew how he was supposed to set this thing up for us. That's okay.
See what y'all did.
Calamari and all.
I love it, man. Sneak up game. That's right.
Sneak up on him, gang.
I love it. So listen, our next question, I wanna let Jay and Frida start us out here, if you will, and then I'm gonna have Lady T jump in. Is how do you balance ministry and life? We've all kind of touched on it, but let me speak on this first with my man Jay. So Jay and I we've been brothers for a long time, and I always tell this joke when Jay and I were talking, we'd go on vacation, and Jay would be taking books, Bible, notepad, and pen. He was working on sermons while he was on vacation. And I'm like, man, like, bro, like, enjoy yourself, right? Jay probably do be on the beach under the canopy with his Bible, everybody in the water having a good time. He writing down sermons. But as time is going on, one thing that COVID taught all of us, man, really was how to take advantage, man, of self-care, right? Because our members taking their vacations and they enjoying themselves and they posting, right? And so we don't want to be the older priests that some of us witnessed where they basically died in the pulpit, never had a vacation, never took a break, never rested, never did anything for respite at all, because all they did was preach. And so the balancing, and there are some people who have a negative opinion about, you know, the pastor having, or the first family having a life outside of the church, right? But Jay and Freddie, start here. How do you balance the demands of ministry and life, right? Because there is a bleeding. Jay, you succeeded a pastor who had been there for over 50 years, right? And so, but how do you balance that? How do you balance those demands?
Man, great question, bro. I think first, let me say this first. I think this is a struggle for every pastor. But I think the first thing, man, I've learned to use my no.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I've learned to use my no. God is omnipresent. I am not.
My brother.
Omnipresent meaning that he could be everywhere at the same time.
I cannot.
Can't do that.
Yes, sir.
Man, so I've learned to use my no, man, and be okay with it. I think we have to create some boundaries, establish some non-negotiables. And I think I alluded to this in a previous show that, and Frida could attest to it, man, that, man, when I first got started in ministry, man, I would take preaching engagements on birthdays, on anniversaries. Man, I would leave family reunions and come back to preach a funeral, leave my family on the beach at the family reunion. And I think I was trying to prove to the people that I could do it. But now, yes, man, that I'm confident in who I am, confident, you know, in my call, and I'm trying to be impactful, not impressive no more. So that's about being impactful. I'm not trying to impress nobody. I'm not trying to impress nobody by how good I can preach. If you like it, say amen. If you don't like it, there's another church down the street. I mean, so man, that's kind of where I am. And for us, man, we spend a lot of time together, man. God has blessed us, by being entrepreneurs, man.
Yep.
Our schedules are as such where, you know, we can do breakfast together and that kind of thing, man. So we spend a lot of time together, and that has really blessed our marriage, I think. And I want to say this, I think Lisa and Bernard mentioned it about how, you know, it can work good together. Man, ministry and marriage, they don't have to compete.
Come on, brother.
I think that if you do it right, they can complement one another. You can have, watch this, simultaneously, you can have a good marriage and a good ministry. You know, the church doesn't have to drain your family.
Wow.
You know, but another thing, so the two can't coexist. What does I want to say? Also, for me personally, I'm gonna let her share something. But for me personally, balancing ministry and life, man, is realizing that my wife does not need a preacher at home.
Amen. Way back.
Come on, man.
Listen, I do a lot of other stuff at home, but I don't preach at home.
Yes, sir.
So, and not only that, and then our sons, they don't need a preacher at home, man. They need a daddy, they need a father, man. So, but I'm learning that, bro, and that's a credit to my instructor, Dr. Andrews. Man, he said this. He said, you got to know when to drop everything and be what Frida needs you to be.
Yes, sir.
And that's be good. What the boys need you to be.
That's good.
He said, because watch this, and then I'll let Freddie jump in. He said, because in the last moments of your life, he said that when you are laying on your back, preparing to transition, the people at the church won't be looking at you. That's not going to be standing up. It'll be her. It's going to be my sons. You know what I'm saying? And so, man, he said, so that if you want to live your life and go to heaven with no regrets, make sure that you value and nurture those the right relationships, man. Because I think a lot of times, man, we spend so much time, man, running for people who, bro, don't care.
Don't care.
I mean, man, there were people, man, and I don't want to complain. I'm gonna pass the ball, but man, there were people, man, who I sacrificed for, man, who left my church and didn't even tell me they were gone.
Come on now.
I just looked up and saw they were going. Like, oh, y'all, you gone? Oh, okay.
Come on now.
But that's what happened, man. That's
Lord, deliver me.
That's the nature of ministry, man. You know, you look up on Facebook. You'll remember who you bragging on is a member somewhere else.
Come on now.
Right. So man, I think, man, that we got to really, man, evaluate all of that and make sure, man, that and I think somebody said it earlier. I think Ash said it about, man. You know, I didn't want my boys, man, to hate the church. I wanted them, man, to really, really not resent it. And so not compete with it. But go ahead, baby. How do we balance?
So I think you did a good job of answering.
But you own that. You better talk too. So we pastor,
Yes,
entrepreneurs,
yes,
mother,
yes.
I mean, wife,
Yeah.
first lady. I mean, she do it easy, but it's weighty.
Yeah,
She's
absolutely.
a great cook. I got an in-house chef.
Look at you. Look at you.
I don't have mercy. Go ahead, say something.
Well, I think one thing that Jay said that was key is that I don't need a preacher at the house. But he says that, but he preaches at home. Let me just say that. Yeah, let me put that out there. Not in a bad way, but in a way, not a lot, but in a way that you don't have to be the preacher at the house because you live what you preach. I heard
That's good. That's good.
About his dad. I think that is good. That is one of the ways that we kind of balance the demands of ministry, knowing that now, if we can't do it, we can't do it.
Right.
Being able to delegate, give it to someone else, trusting other people within the ministry, like share what it is, the vision is, what it is that we want to get done, some things that we want to see happen, and then trusting that God will give them the tools that they need to actually get it done. I think that Jay is a great example of balancing being a pastor and being a husband and a dad and an entrepreneur, because now it's not just a fly-by-night something that he does. It's actually plan and effort goes into it. So we no longer just somebody call and say, hey, can you come and preach? You be like, okay. It's like, well, now we stop, we discuss it. Let's look at the full calendar and decide if we are able to do it and it not put any strain on either one of us. That's one of the ways I think that that we are balancing ministry now, is actually planning for ministry.
And just so y'all know, they also own it's two, right? Two child care centers, right? Jay's also a Black farmer.
Yes.
And takes great pride in that. Right? So these are things where, if we be honest, some of us, we didn't see this emulated, right? I've been in church my entire life, right? Where the pastors I was up under growing up, their only occupation was pastoring, right? Their income, everything came from the church. And to the point where sometimes you saw, because the church paid everything for the pastor, there was a control factor that was there, where the pastor's vacation seemingly was basically being at their friend's church on Sunday versus their own pulpit, right? And so that balancing act. But you speak to this, and I'm gonna come to you, Ty, and roll on this one. But how do you balance it?
I think we balance it by being intentional. And when I say intentional about having check-ins, I know every first Saturday of the month is date night for Derek and Takia. I know every Friday is lunch date for me and Derek. I know that on Friday nights, since our son is not playing football anymore, he's a senior, I knew that they were family nights. Like sometimes you just need to breathe. Sometimes you just need to put everything down. And then also with me being the church financial officer, it can be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I just have to shut down and say, we're not gonna talk about church tonight. Like we just gonna sit down and watch a movie. We gonna talk and we gonna pick that up later. So right now we just gonna breathe and we just gonna watch TV. But I think it's being intentional about check-ins and taking time away because we do need breaks.
I love that. I'll tell you guys that one of my greatest joy in pastoring is that I pastor my family. Right. The greatest burden in ministry is I pastor my family. And I say that in all sincerity for this reason. It's if you're not careful, it'll bleed into this normal family gatherings. Right. I have to protect Derek, meaning we could be having a family gathering and I'm just Derek hanging out and somebody wants to bring up church or bring up a matter that's going on. And I just want to be Derek. And so that balancing act is interesting. Jay was a blessing to us during COVID, right? Because our kids, I'm a believer, my kids need to be doing something in church that they enjoy doing. And my son for a while was in our youth choir along with our daughter. And he just during COVID, like, hey, I don't want to do this no more. And one Sunday we just had a need for extra help in the sound booth. And I said, man, just go up there and see if you can be helpful. He went up there to be helpful and fell in love with it. And so my son works in our sound booth along with my nephew and a few others. And absolutely loves being up there to the point where now he's going to be majoring in IT in college. My point of all that is he's doing something in church that he enjoys doing, that he feel like he's giving a contribution, but he's also not resentful in that regard. But that balancing act is important. I told my members, like, listen, I'm not going to win this church and lose my family, right? So if my daughter who was cheerleading had a cheerleading game on a Wednesday, I may not be doing Bible study that night. And if I'm doing it, you can best believe I talk to my family and say, hey, are you guys okay with me doing it on Fridays? I'm not taking nobody's preaching engagement. My son got a football game. I want to be present. I want to be loud. We want to be engaging in that regard. And that was interesting. I grew up under pastors where their income was, they was in a pulpit on Sunday, and then Monday through Friday, they was in revival, making their income. They were back in the pulpit on Sundays, right? And so one pastor up under, he said his greatest regret was he missed all of his kids' high moments in high school, right? Because he was always on the road preaching. And he convinced himself he had to be doing that for the sake of their livelihood. But you don't get those moments back, right? You don't get the graduations and the football. You don't get any of that stuff back. And, you know, it is amazing. I was allowed that at my son's football games. And I would get mad. People say, well, pastor, they man, listen, I'm daddy at this game. Like, I'm not pastor nobody. Like I'm yelling as a father whose son's on the football field, right? And so you're not gonna box me in to being pastor in the stands of the football game. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna say, Ref, you trash, right? And I'm gonna pray for that, Ref, after the fact. But I'm gonna be loud at that game because my son is expecting his father. He want to hear his father yelling from the stands. Now, sometimes I'll go a little bit overboard. And I would get the tap on my leg from the church lady here. But my point is, it was that balancing of things, right? Going on vacations and not having to rush back. I used to rush back on Saturdays to be in my pulpit on Sunday. Can't nobody run a church like I can. That was my mindset. And not realizing until one day we were having this conversation. She was like, Derek, I'm not going back. We visited my parents at the time who was living in Atlanta. I said, what do you mean? She was like, we don't want to go back. Let us enjoy our weekend in Atlanta. And I didn't realize that rushing back was dragging my family, right? And that can create a friction in your household that the people don't know. As Jay mentioned, we've had several heated fellowships on the way to church, in the church office, right? I get up there and preach good, and the Lord convicting me.
My Lord.
I got ready to preach one Sunday, and the Holy Spirit told me, have your wife come back to the office. You need to apologize before you go out there and preach. And she came back in. I apologized. And all she said was, I said, what you mean, I knew the Lord was going to get with you. I wasn't going to worry about it. One of the worst feelings in the world, brother, when your wife just say, It's like, there's so much in the right? But it's the balancing of it all. We thoroughly enjoy just hanging out with each other. It's one of the things that COVID taught us was we really love and like being with each other, and that's a great thing. My last thing I'll say, and Ro, I'm coming to you, is if you're not careful in your balance, people will try to find ways to intrude, thinking there's a problem, right? They'll try to find ways to get in, right? Try to become that remedy all of a sudden. And usually when they try to intrude, they're coming for the husband, right? Well, Pastor, you need help with anything, right? Totally ignoring the fact. And so if you don't balance that right, that could come great friction. But Ro and Ty, jump on this one as well.
Oh, okay. So for me, man, I think one of the things I tried to do is protect Ty from a lot of church stuff because my wife has a big heart and she loves big, she cares big, and that stuff will begin to pull and be weighty on her. And so I try to keep a lot of unnecessary stuff from her. But then also, man, Ty has a heart to serve. And so sometimes I have to just tell her, man, and it's hard for a baby. We're going to let somebody else do it. Baby, we're going to let somebody else do it. Baby, we're going to let somebody else do it because Ty's the type, man, if it's moving too slow, she's going to jump in and get it done. And so sometimes, you know, and I know people may not believe this, man. I had to tell her one time, baby, sometimes some stuff just going to have to fall apart so that people see that they're going to need other people to do it.
Talk your talk.
Because she would, I mean, literally make up the difference. And then, you know, in all honesty, then I got to deal with it when I get home.
Yeah.
You know, she going to do it in public, but then I got to deal with it on the back end. You need to get this, you need to get that. And I'm like, wait a minute now, I tried to tell you.
Come on now. Talk, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But then I got to deal with the repercussion, but I love it in her, man. And so now we're in a season, and I'll be honest, man, now we're in a season where I want her to do for Ty. And so many may not know it. She's going back to school. And so she's working on her master's now. And so I said, baby, in this season, that nothing come before your schooling. And so, you know, because I want her to do something for her, because she has done something for the last 14 years where she's put everything on the back burner to make sure ministry gets done. And so I didn't want her to burn out. And so we're a great team, man. I'm a big picture, but she the details. Yeah. And so I've had to learn that her ask is not to make me look bad, but really to make me think.
That's good.
And so I'll let her talk now because this is her lane right here, man.
So as he said, balance. As Takia alluded to, when we first started ministry, he was accepting every invitation, everything that was thrown at him. It was a yes, and then we get the y'all come on. I already told him, yeah, we gotta go. No, you don't do it like that. But now we I went in and put on our calendar, as Takia said, date night, family night. It's on the calendar. It's every month, every 2 weeks. Those are things that we do for the kids. I make sure their agenda is on our calendar. And then prior to him accepting any invitations, he has to send a message to myself and the church clerk so we can compare calendars before there's a yes. As far as balance, as Roosevelt alluded to, for years when he first started in ministry, I felt as if, you know, I had to be here to help ministry go and grow. And so I did put school on the back burner. I started talking about getting my master's almost 10 years ago when I first started with the state. And I kept putting it off because ministry, because of kids, other things. And then so this year, I told God I was no longer going to put it off. And I learned the power of no.
Yeah.
You know, at first I felt bad because my classes are on Monday and Wednesday night. I haven't been to Bible study in almost a year because it's on a Wednesday night. And so those things, it did bother me at first because I couldn't do it, but I had to put myself first for ministry, because I'm looking around and everybody else is, doing things. I'm like, why put myself on the back burner? So I learned to balance, myself, prioritize the family and ministry, and it's been a blessing. It truly has been a blessing.
So let me ask this for you guys, since you went back to school. My wife taught me this in regards to, because Ty, what you were doing is what Takia was doing, as far as like just picking up every piece. And I used to get really upset with her, like, come on, man, like there's somebody else do that. And the one thing that she tried to teach me was, she was doing because she loved the Lord, but also it's because it's a reflection of me as pastor, right? And so she don't want there ever be a reason given that I look bad, right? And I understood that when she said it, but here became my concern. It's when the church work is now bleeding into the house, right? Where you up late at night doing church matters and you're exhausted and things of that nature. Like there has to be a separation. And I will tell anyone, like, the Lord blessed us to plant a church almost 14 years ago. It's not easy at all, right? Especially when you're starting from scratch, because being a Black church planner is not like anybody may know. We don't start out with the same resources, right? Start out with a yes and nothing but faith and trust in the Lord. But having said that, being unapologetic, my saying is very simple. No is a complete sentence, right? I don't have to tell you why I said no. The answer is no, right? I realized that my no is necessary because there are other factors that are more important. Early in my ministry, before I started pastoring, I was always going with the man of God wherever he went, until they would put me on program without even asking me beforehand. They knew I was going to always be there, and then I would walk around with a guilt if I didn't make it, because I felt like I wasn't living up to a part, and that pressure became overwhelming because it became obligation, not real service, and it became very frustrating in that regard. And then you start realizing there is no balance, there is no life, right? There is no enjoyment in what we're doing, because it's always being done. In that regard, as Takia mentioned, she handles our church finances on the finance team, right? Even in that regard, I have to protect my wife. I remind people, like, listen, man, that's my wife first. Like, what you not gonna do, right? Now I'm your pastor, but you gonna watch how you talk. I ain't always, well, I've been saved a long time, but I ain't always been saved, and I'm from LA. Like, there's a part of me where I'm just not gonna let you do that, right? But it's that balance, because Takia is so sweet and loving. And she's so, don't worry about it. I'm worried about it, because we don't handle this situation now, it's going to get bad later, right? So we got to make sure people understand that there is a way in which, like, you can't desire grace to be given, you don't extend grace as well. And so in that balancing, that part's very, very important. Our kids, as she mentioned, our son is 18, daughter is 13. They're very active, and we desire, as you all do, we desire to be present parents, right? Not permission seeking parents, meaning, we're asking, no, we gonna be there. We're absolutely gonna be there. We're gonna be engaged in that regard. And so, Ty, back to you on the schooling front. You mentioned not being at Bible study, but you're pursuing school with the support of your husband, and you have desires and goals. But how do you free yourself to focus on school, knowing that you're not knowing you're not in the place where people may want you to be, meaning at Bible study and things of that nature? How are you balancing that?
As one of the things, I think one of you all said, making sure that other people are in place that can do what I was doing in Bible study. So I was leading intercessory prayer, doing Bible study. I was also helping out with the youth. Now we have people in place that does not have to stop because I'm not there. It continues on. And outside of that, as you said, we don't talk about church at home, but we do discuss what was discussed in Bible study. So I'm still getting Bible study because I get to preach at home. So I don't want people to say, "Oh Lord, First Lady ain't learning nothing about the Bible." I am. I read my Bible. But I also read my lesson. So, but that's just making sure, ministry shouldn't stop because we want to pursue some of the things that we want to do. And how do we get there? Trusting that we have people in place that it can continue on even when we're pursuing some of the things that we know that God has called us to do too. So, you know, we're always promoting, telling our members to go after your dreams, go, you know, what God has called you to do. But we also want to set that example for them to see. And that's how I'm doing.
So Derek, she ain't telling the whole story. I done became the taxi. I done became the chef. I done became the maid. Whatever I need to do, man, to make sure that she focuses on school, man. And she struggles with that. She ain't gonna tell y'all that, but she struggles with not doing some of those things and releasing it.
Yeah.
Let me say the struggle is the releasing of it, not to doing it, but the releasing of it, because it's who she is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have to fight to be the taxi.
Come on, brother. Come on, brother. Listen, to our viewing audience, we're nearing that point where we allow for you to submit questions to us. And so if you have questions, please put them in the chat at the appropriate time. We're going to take those questions and then put them on the screen and allow someone on here to be able to answer those questions. This third question and last question is solely for the wives that are on here. So I want each of the wives to provide their answer if they will. So that third question is, how does life look like being married to your husband who happens to also be your pastor? Again, my sister Lisa, your example is a little bit different, but I still want you to speak to it. But how does that look, right? Because you know, you all kind of hinted to the point, at least some of you have, about you know, I don't need you to be a preacher at home, right? But how does that look for you? How do you handle that, right? You want to start?
I can start.
Go ahead.
It looks like one word for me, and that's sacrifice.
Ooh.
Because with you being a pastor, sometimes there are times when I do have to sacrifice time with you. And I have to be okay with that, because I know that you are here to pastor and to inspire and encourage others, not just the people in your house. So I would say it looks like sacrifice to me.
I like that. Chantrell?
I can say ditto with that. And also I can say it's almost like being a little mini celebrity. Everybody knows you.
That's good.
People know you. People know you when you don't know them.
Yes.
But yeah, that's a pleasure though.
Yeah.
But it is a sacrifice. Also, being married is to what is life like being married to him. Also, it's like stages. You know, when I was younger, it was a lot. It was like a balancing act, because a lot of it's like you didn't know what to do, you know, how to do it. For me, I was like mimicking older first ladies. Is that how I'm supposed to act? You just, you know, didn't know what to do and how to do it. But now I've learned to be just me.
Amen.
And so, so to be with him is easy now. But it is a sacrifice. And we didn't answer like that other question, but with him, it's easy. It's easy, you know, it's easy being married. It's easy.
I love it. Look at it. Come on. Come on, Ash. Yes, sir. I love it.
No, I think the thing is, I guess allude to the balancing, because we got to a point where she knows me. If I come home and say, you know, between pastoring and also working, you know, I work in law enforcement. So if I come home and say, hey, babe, I got to get away from here. I got to go. And I'm talking about I got to go now. And she know I'm everything is up to here. And I can remember when we wouldn't leave because Sunday I got to be at church. I got to be there. But one thing now is I'll do the group text and call everybody and say, you know what, we're not having church Sunday. And I'm not having nobody in place. I'm not trying to send nobody, call nobody to be there. With the doors closed, I text everybody, put a message on Facebook, and me and her go to our little spot we like going to, and we'll just go just to get away.
Yes, sir.
Because I know for my mental, You know what I'm saying? I thank God for being able to know when I done had enough. You know what I'm saying? When I get to where I done had enough, I get short. I can't focus. And her knowing me, and I can say, babe, I need to get away. She know, okay, we got to go.
Yeah.
And that's been a blessing. But before, when I first started pastoring, it's nowhere in the world I'd have done that. I wouldn't have.
He said yes to everything.
Yeah, it's true. And like you said, I know it's a complete sentence. I had to learn that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn that. Yeah, hey man, you might. Hey, I'll be there, and she'll see me getting dressed and be looking at me like, I done it again.
And did it
Did it
again.
again. And I'd be like, and you know, that's back when I was suit and tied up. She'd be looking at me about when I'm leaving. She'd be like, you did it again. I was like, hey, God. But now, you gonna be there? No, not gonna be there.
Nope.
And one thing I love, and I'll let y'all get to the rest of it. One thing I love now with all this technology, y'all church got a cash app. I send you off. I send you off.
There you go.
hey, I send you. And you, because you know as well as I do, we pastors and we being real. And you don't need to invite seven. Seven of us don't need to get up and say nothing. Because most 6 out of 7 ain't never been taught that you don't get up behind nobody and try to out preach who done preach. So I'm good with it. Pastor Ash, you need to say something? No, I'm good. So send an offering. God bless you. I was there, and good night. I learned how to do that. I had to learn, and that's that balance. Don't get me wrong. That's the balance that came in, especially like Derek, you said it earlier. COVID taught us a lot.
Yes, sir.
It taught us a lot. A lot of stuff we thought had to be the most paramount, and thought of no, kind of find out, bro, that wasn't it. So our balance, as well as like we say, we've been married for 28 years. So you know, I done had times where we done had what you call it, Jay?
Heated fellowship.
Heated fellowship. And
Heated fellowship.
And there, and I done had where I'm sitting on the pulpit. I'm on the platform, and I done had to lean over and look at her and say, and then I could not get up and preach with me and her not together. You know what I'm saying? Now I just couldn't do it. I could not do it. I had to lean over and say, I'm sorry, and then she'd be like, okay. I'm like, all right, I'm ready now.
Let's do this.
Let me let y'all go.
I love that. Frida, for you, the question on the screen is, what does it look like for you being married to your husband, who's also your pastor?
I think, and we all probably got the same responses. It is a sacrifice, because not only is he my husband in my house, but in my place of worship, he is also the leader. So sometimes, as his wife, I have to remember that. Just as he said, sometimes like I don't need to preach at home. Well, when I'm at church, I have to remember that he's the pastor, he's the leader. So I have to kind of get in line with that, and that ain't the easiest thing to do sometimes.
Why not?
Because well, because
it's gonna come out in a minute.
Sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do, because a lot of what we do is partnership. A lot of what Jay and I do is partnership. We partner in ministry as well, but I have to remember at the end of the day, when it comes to New Jerusalem, Jay is the pastor, and so he has the final say. So I have to try to balance that out sometimes, because we partner a lot in everything. I feel like I got an opinion on everything, sometimes. And then I just have to remember that he's the pastor. And so, I don't.
And here's the deal on that, dear heart.
He said, dear heart. Yes, sir.
Your opinion, it is your opinion.
Okay.
And it'll always be recognized, but not always utilized.
Oh, okay.
Right. So no, that's it.
My brother.
Anything that comes from her, I receive.
Okay.
Because here it is. She was created to help.
Right. Right.
And this can kind of take it to another level, because sometimes we don't allow our wives to help us.
That's right.
So I mean, so everything, it's always recognized.
Okay.
But my wife, man, she's so smart, and a lot of people depend on her for a lot. So that's just her DNA, always giving her opinion, giving her wisdom, her knowledge. She's been doing that for over 20 years. Work, family, everybody depend on her. I mean, so she's accustomed to that. But sometimes, like, okay, no, if I say we going this way, then that's just the way we're going.
Yeah.
Sometimes she may like, well, I think that you probably, well, no, this way we going now.
Yes.
And when she know that, hey, I feel led to go this way, she'll back on up and say, okay. And then she'll get it. But I think that we have to make sure that they understand that, we have to acknowledge the opinions of our wives, man, and allow them to help us.
Yeah. I love that.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
I love that. Lisa, you jump in, my sister.
All right. So definitely echoing everything that everyone has said thus far. But I think in all transparency, what life looks like for me being married to my boo and my pastor, it's a balancing act. And I would say even for the last couple years, we have honestly, I guess we've been trying to find the perfect medium for that we can stay sane and healthy, but also spiritually sound and able to give to our families what they need, and also to what the people need in the church. Because most of we've been balancing not just ministry, but Bernard is on the tail end of his doctoral program. I'm also in the doctoral program. And then things just with, Kyler, and then family. Then, of course, when life happens, when the help that we're able to give, because that is a sweet space. So, yes, Bernard has the appointment, but once again, my name doesn't need to be on appointment to support my husband in ministry.
Amen.
And because of my commitment to God, my commitment to him, to stand beside him, behind him, however I can do, whatever I can do to serve and to make sure that, he continues to finish strong. I mean, because I had to pull a card here, I think about a couple weeks ago. He didn't like it. He was trying to meet the deadline for his project to be submitted. And we planned something with the church, and we got down close to it. And he was saying, I need to be there. I'm like, why do you need to be there? And so I pulled that card and sent out the text and say, hey, he will not be there. He needs this moment. He needs this moment to do what he needs to do. And I think that was pivotal, because had not, he would have stayed home and been able to do what he needs to do. We wouldn't have gotten those 2 congratulatory emails already for him to finish and be able to graduate in the next couple of months. And so we do a lot of support with one another. So he'll, I preach, I teach Bible study, he does the same. And so it's a balancing act. So we're doing it together, but sometimes it's a struggle just trying to do it all. And I heard y'all talk about, these date nights that we pencil in, and but sometimes we just want to sit. I forgot who that said. We just want to sit and watch a movie and go nowhere.
Come on now.
Because we've learned even more so in the last 12 months, even with my getting sick and my not being able to preach for almost 5 or 6 months. And all of it, he didn't, and he loves to preach, but still, just having those times where I can, get in there and do it as well. But we've learned to be intentional about holding it all together, but putting us first. So we're in the season now that, yes, God has called us, anointed us to do, but we've learned that we still got to be selfish too, and make sure that we put ourselves. And I thank God. I heard my sister say she's back in school, but we have to make those sacrifices for our own selves and our own advancements, and us chasing after our dreams, and then even getting to those things and obtaining those things that God has for us. And so we have to do what we got to do, how we got to do it to make it happen. And so however and whatever that looks like for us individually or collective, we've just got to be intentional about loving our spouses, our pastors, our wives enough to still want the very best for each other.
I love that. I love that. Ty?
So what is like being married to your husband who's also the pastor? Frida kind of alluded to it. Takia said sacrifice. Sometimes I'll say restraint. Sometimes, because we're not called the pastor, and then we also have to know when we're in the church, we have to acknowledge them as the pastor and allow them to make those decisions. Even sometimes, like I know me and Frida, we be like clenching our teeth, like you don't, but we have to restrain ourselves and and just allow them. When we get in the car now, I let it be known because now he hubby, in the car. Or sometimes in the middle of it, he hurt because I'm sending a text to him and say, yeah, I'm that, but restraining sometimes, and that's not in a bad way. There are some things that we notice that that we just want, as Derek said, we don't want you all we want it to be right. So if there are some things that we notice, but we know we can't like put it out there on blast, but there's a way of balancing and letting you know. So I say, restraint. We all being honest. We have to restrain ourselves. Why sometimes.
So let me grab this, and then again for the audience, again, this is your time. If you want to submit a question, we want to answer your question. I'm gonna ask something that just fell in my spirit. I'm gonna share it to make it easy. So if any of you want to share just a situation that occurred in your time of ministry where you got tried, I'll use us. So we were before we started pastoring at our previous church, and I think Kia was pregnant with our son.
It was.
And so we were at 3 different church services. I would stay for all 3 services to help the man of God out. And so in between the 2 services, I was checking on her, making sure she was okay. She was going to go to her mom's house, so I got out of church. So we're in a conversation like this, and this young lady basically made her point to kind of come up between the 2 of us and turn her back to my wife to engage me in conversation, literally turn her back to my and literally just unapologetically just walk between 2 of us, stopped talking to me, her head to my wife's face. And again, Kia is very, very, very nice and non-confrontational, right? And so it's a moment of just trying somebody, total disregard. It's also a test for me, because how do you handle this situation, right? How do you do this? Because at this point, you can't be the minister. You got to be the husband. And so we got the situation corrected in that spot. But it was my first matter or encounter of just blatant disregard, right, for the minister's wife. And I wasn't even pastoring them, but just seeing the boldness and the audacious behavior of someone. And it became for me the eye opener. I can admit I can be very naive to things happening that shouldn't be happening, right? My mindset is such, it could be immature or naive, where everybody should we at church, man, we ought to have right motives, right? I don't see things. My wife, on the other hand, here, Madam Investigator, right? You see that? I ain't see nothing. You need to be paying attention next time. Like they're blind spots, right? And so we've grown in our marriage, especially in ministry, where I used to always question her bringing things to me as it was jealousy. Man, why are you acting like that? And you stop. That's not their motive. And then the Lord began to deal with me on, you be quiet and listen to your wife. She would point out things, and then you start realizing, oh, wow, because I'm so serious about ministry, I'm not seeing people's motives as being, and I'm not even talking about sexual events. I'm talking about even other pastors who trying to get in because they see you doing something, want to be whatever it may be, right? And so I would take on invitations. My wife and then my senior Deacon Harden, one time Deacon Hart came to me and said, Pastor, are you sure God said we're supposed to go over there? I'm like, yeah, we don't go over there. And he said, Pastor, I'm only going because you going. And we went, And afterwards, like I had members say to me, like, Pastor, we have to keep coming back here. And we started having this conversation. And what I started realizing was they were discerning and seeing things that I wasn't seeing, right? And they were experiencing things that I wasn't experiencing. Here go the lady right here to my right. Been trying to tell you, you learn how to listen to me. But it was, when you serious about it, about ministry, I'm not thinking of people that way. You know, I grew up in Los Angeles. I got a street side of me. But from a ministry standpoint, I'm thinking everybody is serious about Jesus. Everybody's motives are pure. She pointing things out there. I'm like, I just don't see that. And you start seeing, you like, wow, it's impactful in that regard. And so I'm saying it to say that there is a role, as Jamie said, there's a role, there's a lane, there's a voice. We should never allow our role in ministry to silence the voice of the one God has blessed us with to help us. And there were times, I know early in my ministry, and even early in the pastorate, where I wouldn't heed my wife's advice or my wife's warnings because I know what I'm doing. You can get on board, I know what I'm doing. And I just kept bumping my head. Why you keep smirking, man? Go ahead. Go ahead. So you got no. So it's. I want you to touch on that though, because that's a challenge, especially when you keep trying to give warning. The person's not heeding the warning. Right, at some point you become frustrated.
And not only pastors, just like in marriage, even with ministers, like, he don't like when I say it, but a woman knows another woman. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. A woman knows another woman. And sometimes our husbands are so eager to help everybody. Like they are just blindsided by things that we as women will sit back and observe. Because you're so willing to help somebody, you miss all the, I don't want to use red flags, but warning signs. And the problem becomes frustrating when I'm giving you the discernment that I see and you're not receiving the discernment. And you just pushing me off to the side. Oh, you're just overthinking. No, I'm not overthinking. I just need you to sit and listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah. Be free.
I'm free.
But listen, I want to open it up. I mean, again, go ahead, Ash.
I think to kind of piggyback on what you said, I can remember one time vividly. I had just got through doing a wedding, and we were it was at a house, and we were sitting there. I mean, we was getting ready to get something to eat afterwards, you know, kind of fellowship, and we had a couple behind us who I didn't do their wedding, and the wife was just yapping. I'm talking about just talking. He didn't do our wedding, but he over here he did theirs, and the way Sean took care of that.
Ooh.
I'm talking about the way when she turned around and handled that, I was like, yes, sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, the way, and see, my wife got away. Like when you said there that woman slid in between you and Tequila, boy, Sean did like this. She looked like, did what? But it was the way that, you know, because a lot of times we're used to kind of having to handle things, and I'm telling you another thing that, you know, women discern things that guys we don't see. We had a lady one time. And my wife told me, she said, hey, that lady like you. And I was like, man, that lady cross-eyed. She ain't paying no attention to me. And I'm thinking y'all thought I was playing. She'll tell you. She said, no. I said, hi, Sean, how you know she looking at me? She cross-eyed. I mean, how you know? I'm talking about literally. I'm not playing. I'm talking about literally. How do you know? But she saw which eye was on me. You know.
Oh my God.
Hey, so you know, and I'm telling you, and once I'm telling the book, and y'all probably all read it too. When you read 5 love languages,
yes,
it kind of makes sense now, because you got to be careful as a pastor. Sometimes we do extra service for others, and that may be their love language.
Ooh, that's good.
And so we have to be careful. You know what I'm saying? That, oh, no. I'm talking about something simple, open the door, just being nice, polite, and you have I'm talking about it ain't nothing to you, just being polite. And all of a sudden, no, it's not. No. and you got to be careful because if they can't speak to Sean,
talk to us. Yes, sir.
Why are you speaking to me?
Come on, sir.
Now, Sean, like most of y'all, she real nice. We went to R.A. Vernon thing up in Cleveland one year, and I got off the plane, got her stuff. She had got out, got the rental car. We in the rental car. We leaving, going to the hotel. And Sean was like, "Yeah, it was a guy when we came off the plane, started talking to me." And I told him, I said, "My husband coming," and he was like, he didn't care. She said, "No, you might want to care." And so, but see, that's another thing. She protects because she know if she just said something, she not the type to keep stuff started. If she just said something to me when I came off that flight that he didn't move on, I'd have helped him move on. You see what I'm saying? And but she knows that, so she protects me too. You see what I'm saying? That nah, man, we only. She told me that when we were because I'll turn the car around.
Come on, sir.
Let's go back and find it.
Come on, sir.
You know what I'm saying? But she know that ain't what we need to be up here doing. You see what I'm saying? We still up here for a church conference, and you might have to bond you out this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anybody else got a situation you want to share?
Well, I'll share one, man. It's a little bit different. I remember when we first started pastoring, and I first started pastoring, man, they wanted to put Ty in what a first lady's supposed to look like. And they gave her a book.
Oh my.
They gave her shoulders was out. And they was like, I like what you got on, but first lady's shoulders shouldn't be out. And so she told me that, right? And so what I told her was, this is the last time we ever had a conversation about how she dressed for church. I said, if you leave that house and I don't say nothing, I don't care what nobody say. You ain't got to wear no hat. You ain't got to look a certain way. I want you to be tight.
Talk, sir.
And Lady Rogers is married to Roosevelt Nathaniel Rogers III. And and I just said that because what I wanted her to do is to be comfortable, man, because she was going through where she was trying to figure out, did she need to get hats? Did she need to wear suits? I'm like, girl, you ain't wear that stuff. So why are we changing from that? So we just gotta be as husbands, we gotta let our wives be comfortable with who they are and not try to fit them in a box or a narrative of what a first lady of the church is supposed to be. And then the other part, man, and I'll speak to this, Bernard, we're grateful that you got the preaching preacher as wife. But me and Ty had a conversation, baby. God ain't called you to co-pastor.
Come on, sir.
And just because we're in a season where it seemed like everybody's spouse was jumping up to be co-pastor, I said, no, if he ain't called you to that, I want you to just be Ty. I want you to be in the ministry of Ty. And that's the minister to me, and to make sure I'm good. And so, I think as husbands, we, the same way that our wives have that eye, man, we got to have that same eye to protect them as well, man. So I just want to kind of.
I think also, Ty, for example, I would think it's important too. People know that Ty, bro, you're pastoring at Ty's home church, right? So you're pastoring people that has watched her grow up, right? So even that pressure by itself. Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, as far as I remember when he first started in ministry, I had people come up and prophesy and tell me that I was gonna be, preaching along with him, and I know that wasn't a calling that God had. Now I do have a gift on my life. I have a gift of intercessory on my life, and so I walk in that gift. But like when Roosevelt was saying, I was questioning because people was telling me so much. He was like, what is God telling you? You're hearing this, but what is God telling you? You pray about it and what God is telling you. And with Pastor Barrington, we talked about spiritual gifts, and he taught me through that, and I understood my spiritual gift and the calling on my life, and it wasn't to be standing as co-pastor or pastor. I don't know what God has in the future for me, but as this, I'm walking in that calling now. So
I love that. I love that. Go ahead, Jay. I think you gonna say something.
Okay, yeah, man. We were just going to talk about. I think Ro mentioned it, man. Just about
Yes, sir.
protecting our wives, man.
Yes, sir, brother.
And just allowing them to be their authentic self, because again, particularly for us in our context in Baptist churches, there is this preconceived. There's this look, man, that first ladies ought to have, and certain things that she ought to be doing, and so, man, and man, we don't require none of that. And so, so I just try to protect her, man. And I did want to say this. I hope I'm not shifting a bit, but one of the misperceptions too, man, is that sometimes, well, it fits because people feel like just because you're saved, that doesn't mean you're stupid.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Saved and stupid is not synonymous. Saved and slow is not. You know what I'm saying?
Talk, man.
I'm saved and I can see. So, man, a lot of stuff, man, people don't think we see, man. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, I trust my wife's eye, you know what I'm saying, for certain things. I allow her to speak into my life as well, man, on certain things. I trust her wisdom, because, again, sometimes we can miss things as men in the name of we're just serving and wanting to love God's people. And so, man, I think that we, and I had to learn this, that even when it comes to women in my church or women wherever, I would go home, make with the women being offended before she be offended.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Y'all get it? Let me see if I can put it where y'all can get it. So there was this girl once who we didn't date or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? But I knew it from the past, and I saw her at this event, and me and Frida was there. And so when I came in the room, I spoke to everybody, and it kind of got back to me that I didn't speak to her individually or specifically. And so, and I've been feeling like this for a long time. I don't owe that to you. So I don't want this is what I'm going home with. And so I'm like, yo, I don't want that conversation to come.
Come on, bro.
So I think, man, we got to, sometimes we'll go out our way, man, to make sure that other people are not offended, but then our wives are offended.
Yes, sir.
So I think, man, I think we have to make sure that we shift that. Look, I don't want her offended. So if it offends you, you just offended. You'll get over it. But I got to go home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So and I love you in Jesus' name, but
yeah.
My wife ain't gonna go home with it.
Yeah.
So I think, but so, man, I just think that, man, making sure that, man, we let folks know, man, that we ain't stupid, man, and for some reason also too, man, people don't always tell us the truth. That's something that I kind of been dealing with lately, man, as a pastor. That, man, people, they'll lie to you, man, they'll be dishonest with you, and so and they think we don't see that. I know, man. I've been lied to a lot. Or made to believe something is one way when it's something else, and you know the truth. And so when you just talking to me about this, you're like, why don't you just tell them? Like, just do that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there are some things that you see that you can always speak about. You can kind of, I think, change how you handle the situation, but you can't always just come out. And just, have y'all? I don't know. Y'all tell me. Have y'all just was face to face with a member like you lying? Y'all just y'all never done that? I don't know.
Hey, Jay, I don't know, man. I say sometimes the profession I'm in, man, I'm sometimes just too blunt. I'm just too blunt with you sometimes. Just be like,
but as a pastor,
you try not to. But I guess my face sometimes be telling like.
What? and I think, honestly, man, I think it's just something that kind of comes with the call, because people want us to think that they are doing things right, that they are making good decisions, man. But again, man, it's life, and so, but I feel that sometimes, man. Sometimes that, man, we don't always get the truth from people, man. That people will lie to us and be dishonest with us. And so sometimes that can be an issue.
And I wasn't saying it like just tell them off or
No, not tell them off.
just have a conversation. Sometimes, yeah, I feel like sometimes if somebody offends you, you're able to share that with them in a way to where they can receive it. Not just tell them off or whatever, but instead of you carrying that and not sharing with them that, hey, when you did XYZ, it offended me, and just being able to share that and be open and be honest with people. That's me. I don't think that I'm blunt or I can be forceful, but sometimes I can be brutally honest. And I guess that's something that I do have to work on, but I just believe in sharing with people how I feel.
Yeah, and sometimes I don't know if this has been the situation with y'all, but for us as pastors, you won't get that in return.
Yeah.
We won't we don't get that in return. So you just say if there's a matter, man, that you need to kind of handle, man, and you sit down and be honest and upfront with somebody, you won't get that back in return.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, man. So and I think that has a lot to do with our position sometimes.
Yep.
But people don't always give us that back in return. But I wanted to just kind of mention that. But man, this has been great.
So I want to do this. So the answer to the question is it as easy as it looks? The answer is no, right? I mean, God has graced us and God has favored us tremendously to be able to do what we've been called to do, and thank God that God has given us our helpmeets, right? I mean, I'm grateful. Lisa said it earlier, right? That, and Bernard said as well. Like, when you get the two of us, you get a whole, and I think that's important. For me, I know I've had to grow at the bump in my head many times. To if anybody wants the best for you, it's Takia, Derek, right? Like, you may not want to hear it at the time, but what benefit does she get by cutting you, right? And it's hard in ministry when you love people who are set out to hurt you. Jay, you said something I reacted to earlier, right? When you have members who've left the ministry unbeknownst to you, right? And I've done nothing wrong to you. They just disappeared. That's a challenge. It's a challenge when, you have a conversation with your spouse and they make comment of something that was said or got back to them that cut them, and you want to go deal with it, right? That's challenging. My daughter, who's 13, she become way more opinionated about church matters now than she ever been before, and she raises questions, and when she has concerns about things that she sees in church at times as it relates to her father, right, and the impact it has on her father, and right, and so I try my best to converse with my children, so because in their lane, right, I want to make sure that I'm sensitive enough. One of the great joys is my son bears my name, but I wasn't thinking about that when he was born, what that looked like when he becomes 18, right? And my son felt like I know everybody in Tallahassee, which isn't true, but at the same point, it's while there's some favor there, there's also could be weighty as well, and I want to always make sure he knows, listen, I don't expect you nor desire for you, if that's not God's call, for you to be following your dad in ministry, right? I want you to walk in the lane God wants you to be in, and be yourself. I'm not trying to make you wear a suit to church every Sunday. You want to wear jeans and a polo shirt, I'm cool with that, right? If you want to walk around, I went through this phase with my son at one point, right? He wanted to grow his hair out and he wanted to, do the swirl brush. And internally, I was struggling with that perception, that look. And I got set free of, man, I'm not about to box my son in because of a perceived image the church thinks my kids ought to have. I'm gonna let especially when all these other kids come into church with this same look, right? And so just allowing for that to take place and them being who they are in that regard. But really, let the people know, man, this ministry is not easy, it's weighty, but I'm also grateful, right? When you think about the all-sufficient God has trusted us with ministry, with shepherding, under shepherding his people. That's a major assignment, but that's also major love. So as we near the end of the show, I want to end a certain way. And I'm gonna start with Bernard and Lisa. I'm gonna first give you guys a chance if you have a story to give, but I want each of us, as we prepare to wrap up, I want us just to speak to the viewing audience, and those who will see this later in a rebroadcast, and just whatever you want to share, right, as it relates to their misconceptions of ministry, any words of encouragement you want to give to them. If there's a pastor in a First Family that's watching, that you want to just speak, that you want to empower them, encourage them, because there are some, as we know, who are contemplating walking away from ministry, and some of them have basically resigned their roles at their churches because, and I don't have the percentage up tonight like I had the last time. And percentages are growing the more of preachers and pastors who are walking away from ministry because of the weight. Some who have died by suicide because of the pressure put upon them. Everybody is not Bernard as it relates to how he looks at his wife's call in ministry in that regard. And I commend you. I've always told you that, but I commend you in that regard. But I want us just to minister to whomever may be watching now or later. So I want to start with the Hudsons, and then we're gonna wrap it up that way. Each of us gonna say something. But Bernard and Lisa, please let the Lord use you in that regard.
So I'll start off. I don't think I have a specific situation to kind of mention right now. I will say that there were times, what I have to battle with the most is letting Lisa know she doesn't have to protect me. That's probably the hardest thing, because she kind of sits back and she watches, and then she feels as though she needs to pounce. And so we get sometimes when we're having conversations later, and she was like, well, I just don't know why you didn't get mad about it. You know what they're doing. Why doesn't that make you mad? And this is not just about church. This is about ministry in general. When we're in other settings and being AME and having to kind of travel all over and deal with, all kinds of people in our different areas and conferences. And she'll say, that's what such and such was doing, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, why aren't you mad about it? I mean, she'll literally say, why aren't you mad about it? And so I have to kind of calm her down a little bit and let her know, look, I know it, but I'm not going to worry about that. God can get them a whole lot better than I can. So I really have to kind of sometimes tell her, and I understand it's coming from a good place, but I have to kind of calm her down, because she really feels like I should have let them have it. It was blatant. You should have let them have it. And so that's what we kind of have to deal with a lot, especially coming on the district where we are now. We're at what they would consider the first church on our district, but we came from our home district. So we were in the YPD, Young People's Division, and we were doing that. And so we're seen as their children. So a lot of the pastors who we pastor with now are older than us, old enough to be our parents. And so we don't actually receive a lot of probably the respect that we would being where we are. And that's kind of a battle that we have to deal with sometimes. And so I'll say this, and then I'll let Lisa speak up. What I would say to people who are in ministry is that if you get in it for the right reasons, yes, it's weighty, but God will sustain you.
My God.
And it's something I have to deal with. And we didn't address the balance thing. And I'm still trying to figure out how to balance it all. And sometimes, and she went behind my back. I was ready to go to Bible study, and she sent me a text and said, I canceled Bible study. I was like, you did what? Yep. and after I said, you did what? Cancel. I kind of thought about it, and I was like, oh, dog. Well, okay. And then we get to that Sunday, to that Saturday when we were supposed to be having a church event, and man, I was really struggling with it. I knew I needed some extra time, and she's already had a conversation, because I get a text from her saying, well, maybe you ought to cancel. And you know what she did? She called my mama. Who does that? Who does that? So on work, I got to have this conversation all the way to work with my mom about why I should cancel. And so I listened, and then after I finished, I say, so you just gonna let Lisa use you like that, huh? You gonna let? Yeah. And she said, I didn't let her use me. And I was like, oh, I was just playing. I didn't really mean it like that. But it was really one of those things where because I think we're driven to lead the people. We're driven to lead by example. We're driven to show our commitment until sometimes the balance gets off and we end up doing more in one area and not enough in another area. And it was hard, and it's something I'm still trying to learn. And that's what I would encourage everybody to, and I said this before in another one, love yourself. And that's hard sometimes because we feel we're supposed to put everybody else first, but love yourself enough to say no, love yourself enough not to feel guilty, because I agree with Derek. And there were times when saying that no, you kind of felt like you put on some baggage. You were kind of carrying some guilt as a result of saying no. And so it's something that's difficult for me. And in learning to do that, and learning to say no, and learning to love yourself, and learning also that God will sustain. If you trust God, God will sustain you.
I love it.
And so I guess my final word would be echoing the tail end of his statement, and that's loving yourself. As he's indicated, we are still, well, I'm sorry about that. We're still learning how to put us before some things. And I know some people will even question that. Well, God has called you. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be that. No, I'm supposed to be what God wants me to be. And I'm learning, if I'm to continue in that path, then I got to put me first and make sure that I take good care of Bernard. I got to take good care of Lisa. I got to take good care of our family, because if we don't, then we're going to be no good to anybody we serve at any role. And so I think it's an excellent conversation tonight. Just the whole topic itself about the weight of being pastor and first ladies, and all these other roles that we stand in. Truly, it's God that's giving us the grace to continue to maintain in these roles, because it's hard. It's difficult. Sometimes it's frustrating while we're still wearing all the many hats. But I love one thing that I've heard everybody say, and that's being your authentic selves. And regardless of what the perception that the people have of us. And I will admit, I used to be a person that cared what people thought of me. I was a people pleaser. And some people say, oh, well, you're supposed to be reverend. I am. I'm still that person who God has anointed in this season. And I know what he calls me, but I'm concerned about what he calls me and what I'm supposed to be for him. And so when we mindset, able to move forward in doing the God and serving in our families in whatever role. But my final words are, again, is just love you enough to want the very best for yourselves.
I love that, man. I love that. Ro and Ty.
All right, man. I'll jump in and say I'm going to echo. I think I heard Bernard said, man, when you get into ministry, make sure you're getting in this thing for the right reason. I'm going to echo what Jay says. Make sure we're not putting ministry above family. Make sure we keep balance. Finding. I think you got to find your why in ministry. Because I think sometimes we exhaust a whole lot of energy trying to be the next, rather than just being, as Lisa said, man, just be authentically you, man. And, I'm comfortable with how I do ministry. We're comfortable with how we do it together, man. And, I think once you find that, you'll be fine. But then also, at the end of the day, as weighty as it is, man, I think it's worth it.
I love it.
Because we used to hear stuff like this, man. Anything worth having, is worth doing the work. And I think sometimes, man, and I say younger preachers, not necessarily in age, but I'm talking about the ones that ain't been doing it, because all of us are almost at the 25-year mark. That, man, they want to come on the scene where we are today. But none of these guys had to carry the bags. None of these guys had to just sit in a room in silence while our spiritual leaders were in full engulfed conversations, and we couldn't say nothing. I think that taught us a lot, man. And the last thing I'll kind of say is, man, never lose who you are, because I think once you lose who you are, man, it makes doing ministry miserable. And so just keep doing it, keep loving family, and just keep at it. It's kind of what I say.
Yeah, and I'll be brief. As Roosevelt said, it isn't easy to answer the question. No, ministry isn't easy. It does come with a lot of weight, but as Roosevelt stated, it's so worth it if you're in it and you're following God. You know, if you follow His plan, His agenda, and you have constant communication with Him, it will be worth it if you follow that plan. Now, when you want to get out there and go left field and go roll and not do it the way that He's planned it for, yeah, it will be weighty and it probably won't be worth it in the end. But if you're doing it His way, it is definitely it's worth it. And I just want to say, you know, as we all, I know for the husband, I'm speaking for the wives, when Roosevelt got called in the ministry, one of the first things I said, I ain't signed up for this, right? I told him to go back and pray and ask God, because I knew that wasn't what I signed up for. But when I sat down and prayed about it and had a conversation with God, and He started showing me how He had been preparing me and setting me apart through high school, I wonder, you know, why I didn't do some of the things that my other friends didn't do. Why in college I didn't do some of these things. He was setting me apart from, you know, then. So I'll just say the journey has definitely been worth it. It's been a teaching journey, and every day we learn something new. And when we first started out, we were servers, as Roosevelt alluded to. We served in ministry. We served our prior pastors. So ministry for us is serving, and as pastors and leaders, we continue to serve in a different capacity, and it's so worth it. So thank y'all so much. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you, my sister. Richard and Chantrell.
Go ahead, babe.
You go first.
She said she expect me to go first. All right, let's see. I'm trying to be right, brother. Now, I think one thing that I've gotten out of this here, it's weighty, but it's worth it.
Yes, sir.
It's definitely worth it. And I'll say it like this here: you will find out real fast if you're called to this, or this is something you thought you wanted. You know what I'm saying? Some folks like to take a shortcut, like you said, Ro. They want to get where you are, and I think that's the generation we're dealing with now, which are our kids. They're ours. They even on the jobs and everything else, they think they come in the door day one, and they think they ought to be doing and getting the respect. You have done nothing.
Nothing.
You have done nothing, and I think we may be part to blame of that, because we have kind of sheltered them or kind of ushered them past certain things that we didn't get to pass. You see what I'm saying? We as young ministers, you got 5 minutes to preach. I'm coaching. You got 5 minutes. So if you get up there and sing a song, that's in your 5 minutes. If you get up there and thank the Lord for everybody, that's in your 5 minutes. And you're gonna have a seat in 5 minutes. But it taught us something. So I say that to say this: you can't shortcut this. You cannot think that you're gonna just get to this point, and because all of us had times that you had to deal with certain things in our marriage. All of us have questioned if are you true. I bet my wife, she'll tell you, she probably laid there one night and said, is he really called to do this? I don't know. You don't know, because she told me now. Once I told her, I was, the Lord had, because I'll tell you all the time, I did not want to do this.
Yes, sir.
I did not. I grew up as a pastor's kid. I did not want to pastor. As a kid, I cried through all the stuff, all the other kids enjoyed getting up doing Easter. I hated that junk. I hated it. I cried every time. Easter and Christmas, I hated it. You got to get up in front of you people and everybody looking at you. You got to talk. I cried. So I'm not the prototypical pastor kid that, I just want to go in here because my daddy doing it. I did not want it at all. So when God called me for this, I didn't know God had already dealt with her. And when I told her this was something I called, she said, God already showed me you were going to be doing it.
Wow.
But I didn't know that. But that showed me that God had already prepared her to be what I was going to need to go in the season I was going to go in.
So a lot of times you got to look at if both of y'all going two directions and both of y'all talking about y'all listening to God, it ain't adding. I say it ain't adding up because God is not the God of confusion now. He ain't calling you and then the other one because I can't do this by myself. So I think one thing we have learned even with our wives is, and Derek, you said this, and I'm guilty of it too. Even sometimes, I'm real headstrong. I am. I kind of like doing what I want to do, how I want to do it, and so I have to be reminded. Hold on, bro. You just can't do what you want to do. I'm with you. So I still have to learn it to this day. That hold on, she had to tell me sometimes. Hold on. For you went and did all that, but you ain't consult me. You see what I'm saying? And then I gotta let all of us got our own little pride. So I gotta swallow pride and be like, I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah, I did kind of overstep that. And that's even in year 28.
Yes,
Going in year 29, it's still things you got to deal with. Because you can also, because you've been called to a certain position and you have certain liberties to go and just make decisions. Sometimes you got to remember, hold on, you're not just going by yourself, bro. She with you. Because if this fail or if it don't go quite right, who you sleep next to at night?
Yes, sir. There you go.
Go ahead, man.
And so is it worth it? Yes. Ministry is worth it. All of it entwined, everything, all the sacrifices we have to make, all the church services, all of that stuff is worth it in the end. But the main thing is, in order for us to do all of those things, we have to stay connected with God, right, with Christ. We can't do anything, leave him out of it. In all of our decisions, our prayer life got to be on point. All of those things in order for us to do what we say we need to do, in order for us to make the right decisions, to line up to what he called us to do and the way he wants us to do it, we got to be connected. And the way our ministries, in order for us to do just what he wants us to do, in order for us to, have those, our own aspirations for it to work out the way we want them to work out, we got to line up to, to what his words say. And so for those who are thinking about, coming into the ministry, add up the cost.
There it is.
Add it up. And because it's not all what they, what you see on the outside. A lot of times people just see, we try to put our best foot forward. We try to look nice coming into church, this is what we present, but it's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in the back. And it's be ready for that. But is it worth it? Yes. Because you know what? We got the Lord on our side. And so long as we stay prayed up and we do all what we need to do, we know the Lord got our back and the Lord will have your back. So is it worth it? Yes.
I love that. Jay and Frida?
Man, this is great, man. And Jay, D, let me just say this, bro. Thank you for, man, you're the brainchild of this. I don't know if we give you the credit enough, but bro, I want to just salute you, man, for just bringing us all together, man. This conversation has been phenomenal. And I think our lives and our relationships have been enriched as a result of it. Just a couple of things I'll say, man, is there's a book that I'm reading on my downtime by Courtney B. Vance entitled The Invisible Ache. And it's really talking about the pain that Black men deal with. And one of the things that they suggest in that book, that a lot of us are not even on our own list of priorities. And so I want to say that, man, for the pastors that are out there, man, make sure that you and your wife are on your own list. I mean, we got a list of things that we have to do, but man, sometimes we're not on that list. The hope of that book is to answer the question that how do we begin to uplift and empower Black men in a world that refuses to see their humanity. And bro, that's the world we live in, man. So many people refuse to see our humanity as a Black man and as a pastor, man. People don't think that we're human, man. And so I think that Jesus was human and divine.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? Let me just stop. Come on, thing. I'm trying not to preach. And so I wrote this down. Do what you call to do, nothing more, nothing less.
There it is.
And I think it's so important that we understand what we're called. There are certain things that happen that I don't even. I look at it and it just pass right on by. I'm not called to that. So I think that we should, make sure that we understand what we're actually called to do. Also, man, don't lose your marriage at the cost of ministry.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Yes, sir.
just keep before I let this go bad, I'll leave it all.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and then I think serve with the end in mind.
Yes.
At some point, somebody else gonna pastor that church. So I think it gives me peace knowing that I don't have to do it all. At some point, man, I'm gonna resign, or retire, whatever word, one of those, not resign. That's a bad word. I got some members on here. Y'all not resign, retire. Okay, don't y'all tell nobody. So one day we're gonna retire. But the idea, man, is that somebody else is gonna pastor your church.
Yes, sir.
Do it
Yes,
for
sir.
as long as God has called you to do it, and then pass it on. So I one thing, man, that I'm praying about is, and me and Rope, we had conversations about this, man, is that we're not gonna die with the baton in our hand. One day, man, I hope to give New Jerusalem to another young pastor.
That's good.
I was watching this documentary about Jeezy, and Jeezy said that, do you think that the president, the only thing he want to do is just be president? He said, no, there's something else he want to do too. And so, man, I don't see me pastoring, man, in my old age, man. At some point, I see myself, transitioning, man, and naming a successor, or however God does that, and going on to do something else. I'll still be in ministry. I'll still maybe, my goal is to teach in the seminary one day, but no, teach preaching. That's my passion. But not pastor a church, man, my entire life, man, because, man, I've seen just the effects of it, man. And so, I want to just make sure, man, that I'm healthy and that we could, enjoy another chapter in my life. Go ahead, man. What you want to say?
I think that what Sean said about counting up the cost is important. Sometimes people do see the glitz and the glamour and don't understand that there's a lot of stuff that go on in the background, to make this dynamic work, so that God gets the glory, and remembering why you do what you do. Remembering that it's all unto him.
Right.
It's never about us. People may make it that way. Some people may make it about themselves, but one of the good things that Jay and I just remember is that it's not about us. And when I can remove freedom, then I can really make sure that, God gets the glory. That's one of the things that has been, I guess, helpful in Jay's ministry and my support of his ministry is that he never wants it to be about him. Never make it about yourself. Always make it about him. And I think that if people would do that when they come into ministry, young pastors' wives, make it about Jesus.
Yeah.
Make it about Jesus.
I love that. So we're rounding this out.
Oh, you want to say something? Okay. Everybody has said everything that I was going to say. Ministry is definitely worth it. Sometimes I think we get distracted by the naysayers and they veer us off course, but to see people grow in ministry, to see them get a prayer life, to see them excited about service on Sundays. Even today, I sent a message to the youth choir because I sat down and I said to myself, to see them minister today, I said, my heart is full because I know the church can keep going. It won't stop with Derek and Takia, because sometimes I think we get so focused on what Sally, Joe, and them are not doing that we are not focused on what people are doing to help the ministry and help support you grow the ministry.
I love that. My closing remarks to each of you, first of all, is thank you once again for being a part of tonight's conversation. To my covenant brothers, you know how I feel about y'all, man. I'm grateful. To our wives, thank you for giving up part of your Sunday night to be a part of this conversation. It was meaningful. To our viewing audience, and to you, Pastor, and to the first families who are listening. Number one, I am a believer of women preachers. I'm a supporter of women preachers. And so I want to encourage my sisters who are proclaiming the message of Jesus Christ to be encouraged and to be found faithful in your call and in your proclamation. And then overall, for those who have the call upon their life ministry, there's a weight to it. But it's only weighty when you try to carry it by yourself, right? Jesus says, cast all thy cares upon me, for I care it for you. And so when we make it about ourselves, we try to carry it, right? When everything about your church that you pastor is glorifying your personality and not the power and presence of Jesus, there's a problem there, right? And so let's remember that the same ones on Palm Sunday that said, Hosanna, Hosanna, by week's end was saying, crucify him. And so I think we got to be very mindful that there are some who don't mean well of you. But in the words of Bishop Noel Jones, be careful not to punish those who love you for the few that don't like you, right? Got to be careful of that. There's going to be some who may not speak well of you, but they really are in the minority. And we got to be careful never to abuse the pulpit time to try to scold or deal with somebody who spoke ill of you. No, they're people's lives that are in the balance that need to hear a word from the Lord. And so I want to encourage us in that regard. Going back to COVID, one thing that COVID really, really spoke to me was how important the word of God is and needs to be, right? People were scared, and people are still scared, and they were desiring of the word. So I want to encourage you. I also want to encourage the pastors who members haven't returned to in-person worship, right? And you don't see the same numbers and you are struggling. I talked to a pastor last month. We just bumped into each other in conversation, and this pastor made a comment to me that really blew me. He's like, I'm actually contemplating shutting down my ministry, the church I'm pastoring. He's like, people just it's gotten harder. And it really rocked me. I remember calling my wife and I was sharing with her. And it really rocked me to hear that, because this person I never would have foresaw saying that. But it's also a reminder of just the struggle and the strain. And so, we've got to be very mindful of how we protect our mental, right? And making it intentional about getting away and investing in self-care in that regard. And so all of those who think that you want the glitz and glamour, and because I sound better than that person who preaching, you better be careful, right? There is an oil that God puts on those who try to do it God's way. And I would never want to think about doing ministry without oil on my life. And so I want to encourage, again, all those who have been with us this entire time of our show. Thank you so very much. To my brothers and sisters who are on here with us tonight, thank you once again for being a part of this. We're back on next month. As you know, we do this once a month. Next month, I'm excited about next month's show as well. My brother Julius Harris threw this one at us, and so we made some changes to our schedule. But next month, our title is "The Struggle is Real: The Pain of Black Men and Black Boys." So we're gonna speak truth to power. We're gonna be very honest about that lane and that lens. And so we invite you to come back in that regard. We may have a surprise for that show as well. Not sure yet. But that show will be on Sunday, March the 24th, 7:00 p.m. Once again, God bless you all. Thank you all so very much for being a part of Conversations with the Covenant Brothers and our beautiful wives. We want to thank them for rocking with us and being a part of it. Blessings to all of y'all. Thank y'all so much. And God bless you all. Have a great night. We love you all.
Good night.
Good night.